Today I want to introduce something new. So today I'm really introducing next week's class. So next week's class we're going to start the Shemona Esrei the way I want to teach it to you. But before I do that, I want to show you something that you probably never knew, and that is that the Shemona Esrei, which you've been saying, some of you since you were little girls, or some of you just started saying it recently, the Shemona Esrei is the same words, but there's different ways that you can serve Hashem and different ways that you can talk to Hashem. There's different modes, different approaches to how you say a Shemona Esrei. Where do you find this? So you open up Rav Dessler. Rav Dessler is interesting. Rav Dessler was my Rebbe's Rabbi. When I say Rav Moshe Shapiro, I spoke about him 2 weeks ago. He just passed away last month. So my Rebbe, he spent basically 6 years living in the house of Rav Dessler. Rav Dessler was this great holy Jew that lived in the last generation. He came from Kelm in Lithuania. He spent the war years in England. And after the war, he came and he became the mashgiach in the Panovich Yeshiva. So my Rebbe, basically, as a teenager, lived in his house. They learned Kabbalistic Sfarim. They finished, at the age of 16, he finished what's called Shar HaKadusha of Reb Chaim Vital. One day you'll figure out how cool that is to be able to have done that. But the bottom line is that Rav Dessler, in Chelik Gimel, page 73, he introduces us to the idea there's different approaches to tefillah. And he talks about 3 approaches. And the third one is the one that I'm going to be using from now until basically the end of the year. We're going to go through the Shemona Esrei, blessing by blessing, using the third approach. The third approach is meant for the 2017 young ladies of the world and middle-aged rabbis of the world. That's the way we're supposed to pray. That's the way we're supposed to pray, is method number 3. But today, I'm going to introduce to you methods 1 and 2. So are we sitting comfortably? Everyone's okay? Okay, so let's go through 1 and 2. 1 is, he quotes it from Reb Chaim of Volozhin. Don't ask me to spell Volozhin. Volozhin, all right? Volozhin. Da, yes, it's Volozhin. Okay, so it's, there we go. So it's Volozhin, Reb Chaim of Volozhin. He was the famous student of, anyone know by chance? The Vilna Gaon. Please tell me you've heard of the Vilna Gaon.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. So you get your money back if you haven't heard of him. So the Vilna Gaon is the father of the modern day yeshiva movement. So the first person to build the prototype of the modern day yeshiva was Reb Chaim of Volozhin. Just you should know that if you put the clock back 250 years ago, the world was a mess. The world was a huge mess. And basically, at the beginning of the 18th century, 2 people came along, and they basically saved the world. One was the Baal Shem Tov, is the father of Hasidus, and the other is the Vilna Gaon, is the father of the yeshiva movement. And the Baal Shem Tov had a Talmud, the Maggid Mezrich, and then Rabbi Elimelech from Lezhensk, and they spread Hasidus around the world. And the Gra had a Talmud called Reb Chaim of Volozhin, who basically built the prototype yeshiva. So your future husbands and your sons, okay, that's what they're going to learn. It goes back to Reb Chaim of Volozhin. And Reb Chaim of Volozhin wrote a great book called Nefesh HaChaim, just like one of the students of the Maggid Mezrich, the Baal Tanya, wrote a sefer called the Tanya, and Sefer Tanya, and they were both written at the same time. And the little differences between those 2 books is the difference between Hasidus and the non-Hasidic approach. But there, Reb Chaim Volozhin, he writes down the following. He says, the only way to daven, and by the way, Hasidim agree with this 100% to this very day, they will tell you this. The only way to daven is to daven for Hashem's needs. The only way to daven is to daven for Hashem's needs. In the words of Rav Dessler, Tefillah letzorech gavoa. Davening for the needs of Hashem. Tefillah letzorech gavoa. Gavoa is Gimel, base, Vav, Hey, to daven for the needs of Hashem. So what does it mean to daven for the needs of Hashem? Let me give you some quick examples of davening for the needs of Hashem. Let's say you're not feeling good in the morning. So let's say you're really not feeling good. So you're miserable. Whatever it is, you had a reaction to Nevei food. I don't know how that could happen. But you had a reaction, you're having heartburn or whatever it is. You turn to Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I need you to heal me. Why should you heal me? Not for me, for you. Because how can I study your beautiful Torah if I don't feel good? And how can I make the world a better place if I don't feel good? So I want to feel better for you. Everything's about you. Another example, parnasa. Okay, Baruch Aleinu, we say the bracha, Hashem give us parnasa. Why do I want to have money? What am I going to do with money? What do I need money for? So I can go to a Broadway show. So I could go, I know, that's very old-fashioned. Front row tickets for, I don't even know what to say at this point now. Zane. Did I say it right? I don't even know what I'm saying. But I just know what the teenage girls talk about. Like, I know what it is. I know if it's a creature or a person. What? Oh, that's right. It's one direction became many directions. It was explained to me. But the point is that it doesn't make a difference. Okay? So this is what you're going to do with your money. Or you're going to go on vacation. You're going to party. No, I want money for one reason only. So I can build my Torah home. I can give charity. I can make the world a better place for you. That's why I want it. I'll give you another example. It's a little bit more subtle. Mashiach. Why do you want Mashiach to come? So if you're brutally honest, people want Mashiach to come so that...
No more suffering.
Exactly. Thank you. No more suffering. No more suffering. The Jewish people shouldn't be at the bottom of the rubbish heap. They shouldn't be made fun of and looked down on, and we shouldn't be... There's no country that receives as many lies in our direction as our little nation does. We're vilified, we're put down, our army here is put down, it's being cruel, everything that's the opposite of the truth. So that's the way, and it's all a chil Hashem. So a person that davens for Hashem's needs says, I cannot stand that your people put down because it is embarrassing for you. I want it for your name. I want your name to be spread around the world. I want Mashiach to come to perfect the world for you. So that's called tefillah l'tzorach gavoah, to daven for Hashem's needs. Reb Chaim of Volozhin gives two examples. Both examples are classic. His first example is from the greatest female davener of all time, possibly the greatest davener of all time. Who wins the number one prize? Exactly. Okay? The greatest davener of all time. So the Talmud brings down how much we can learn from Chana, how much we can learn from this awesome woman. Chana, by the way, any Chanas in this room? Okay, so your name rocks. Okay, I don't know if you realize, the word Chana, actually, the hey at the end makes it feminine, but the word chet nun, chen, is one of the words of prayer. Like Moshe Rabbeinu says, ve'et chanan el Hashem, I will pray to God. Or the word chanina. So the word entreating Hashem in prayer is chet nun. Hey means you are the feminine essence of prayer. That's what you are. So you can log into this awesome woman. Those of you that have seen my book, I have a sefer here called Rig Shilei. There's a couple of copies of it. I have a whole opening section is all about Chana. And Chana taught us how to pray. And there the pasuk says, this is Shmuel, Aleph, Perak Aleph, pasuk, I think it's pasuk Ches. It says, Vatispalel Chana al Hashem. The pasuk begins, Vatihi Maris Nefesh. She was bitter of soul. Remember the Chana story? Do you remember the Chana story? Once upon a time, there was a woman called Chana, and she had a husband that was a stupid husband. No offense to my gender, but he just didn't get it. He just doesn't understand the pain that a woman has when she can't have children. Again, it's not for me to speak on your behalf, but the definition of a woman as a woman is that a woman wants to be like God and create life out of her own body. And when it's denied from her, then something essential in her essential femininity has been taken away from her. And the Emah says, the matriarchs used to say, if I can't have children, why do I live? In other words, it was so essentially part of who they are. But Tispalel Chana al Hashem. So Chana davens al Hashem. What does al Hashem literally means? What? On top of God. How can that be? How do you daven on top of God? You piggyback? What does it mean? What? Exactly. So the Medrash brings down that she davened for God. And this is what she said. She said, look at the Jewish people today. Spiritual anarchy. Just to quote the verse at the end of Sefer Shoftim. Ein melech b'Yisrael. There's no king in Israel. Ish asher yashav be'einav tas. Every person does whatever they want. They have freedom to do what they want. You know what I mean? Today, I don't feel like, going to shul this morning. Or I don't feel like keeping kosher this morning. Or I don't feel like being Sanua this way. You can do what you want. No one's going to tell you off. She's someone to get Klal Yisrael's act together. So she goes. By the way, she also had a co-wife. It's kind of awkward to explain, but in those days people had wives as like a thing. So she had a co-wife. Anyone remember her name? Penina. So Penina, she did it with good intentions, but when you play with fire, you get burnt. And Penina comes along and she teases and taunts her. Oh yeah, it was not a good ending. It was not a good story. But the point is that Penina was a tzedekah, there's no question. She was a holy woman, but she made Chana's life even more miserable. And you see this picture of this, in Yiddish we say, Tzabrachana Yidna, a broken down woman. At the Mishkan in Shiloh, in those days, that was where they used to pray, the tabernacle, and there's Eli, the high priest, is watching her, and it's awful. She's crying away. She's crying away. And she asks HaKadosh Baruch Hu, give me a child for you. I want a child to fix everything. So let me ask you a simple question. Before I get get into my agenda over here, I just want to ask you, I want to make a suggestion. What I'm about to say is wrong, in case someone leaves the class now. I want to make a suggestion that Chana was not such a holy woman, that Chana was not such a great and powerful davener. She was actually trained in Harvard Law School in the art of manipulation. And she figured out a very simple thing. If you're a lawyer and you want to get something out of the judge, make it in the judge's best interest. So what I'm about to say to you now is a distortion of a famous saying of the rabbis. The rabbis say, make your will his will, so he will make his will your will. So that's horrible. But it means basically what some of you did perfectly with your fathers. I know you types. Okay, you got your dad, he says, Dad, he says, if you give me the keys to the Lexus, I will do shopping for you. I'll go and buy you, your favorite tobacco. So, yeah. Okay, famous maneuver. Father falls for it. You make it into his best interest. Chana does the same thing with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Chana says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you give me a child. So she knows she's not getting a child till now. It'll be in your best interest. I'm going to make it work for you. I want him for you. So how do we know that Chana wasn't just like this smooth operator?
She was sincere about it.
How do you know?
Because she did it,
Ooh, very, okay. That's the end. The answer is, we say in England, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. That's the way we go. So at the end of it, you have a look at Chana. What does she do with her life? So I don't know if have you ever seen a 3-year-old boy? That's the point where they're still cute. You ever seen that? You ever been to a chalaka? You ever been to an upsharing? They're so cute. I mean, I can show you pictures of my grandsons. They're gorgeous. A 3-year-old, little locks and thing, and they're sucking on their candy. I ain't taking him to no high priest. You know what I mean? I'm not going to take him and say, raise my child. And there's a person wearing all these, the 8 clothing, which made them look like, I don't know, with all the bling, I'm talking about, and the bandana. Okay, what is high priest? It sounds so weird. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic. I don't want you to say, Rabbi Nissel's a kofar. I don't want you to say, obviously, the high priest is not just a high priest. He's you look at him, you can get Ruach HaKodesh. Just to look at him, look at his clothing. But the point is that she did it. She gave her 3-year-old. And we saw that she herself had Ruach HaKodesh from the poetry that she said. The poetry becomes part of Klal Yisrael's. It's one of the most beautiful poetry ever written, was what Chana wrote to thank Hashem for her child. So she actually lived it. She was not fake. She was not manipulative. On the contrary, what she did is that she did something for HaKadosh Baruch Hu that was real. Now, before I go, I want to say I want to press one more button over here. I now want to suggest the other extreme. I want to suggest that Chana is actually the worst nightmare of some of your parents. She is a flipped out balas tshuva, zombie for God. She does not think for herself. Everything she does is for Hashem. She gets a child, she says, okay, child's for you. You want to sacrifice him? Be my guest. Just kidding, all right? I'm just saying, you know what? People are scared. People are scared. I don't know about you, at least you girls still, you look normal-ish. I know how to say this over here, but when boys flip out, they actually change their clothing so they look like normal. and then suddenly you see they're all like an army of penguins. You go to the Mir Yeshiva, that's it. It's all those like spare parts from Happy Feet. It's like crazy what goes on over there. And not only that, some of you, I don't know, before you guys became religious, you remember these boys come home, and they don't talk to you anymore. I'm like, oh my gosh, he used to be such a happy guy, and now he's like always with his nose in the box. I must serve God. I must pray now. I'm sorry, I cannot talk to you. I do not talk to girls. Like, what, you're a robot? What's your problem? What's with your clothing? Why can't you look just casual? What happened to your Hollister collection, your Abercrombie stuff? Well, you're not, look, you just flipped out. You walk around like an Oreo cookie. Like, relax. What's your problem? So that's it. That's it. Hannah says, I give my child to God. I do not think for myself anymore. Everything is for you. I pray for you. I want children for you. So that's it. So what happened to your personality, Hannah? Awkward silence. Yeah, how do I know that she's just not like this flipped out, brainwashed? Like it's a scary thing, because how do you know you're being brainwashed? So we take you far away from your parents, we put you on unhealthy, high-carb, low-sodium diets, and we deprive you of sleep. Okay? So, like, they got a point. It's like scary over here. How do we know? How do you know that that this is not an unhealthy thing going on with Hannah? She gives a child, 3-year-old child, everything is for you. When Reb Chaim of Volozhin says, all your prayers have to be for God, what happened to your own personality? What happened to it? I'll give you a clue. I'll give you a little clue. What was the one thing? Today is the day of Harry Potter references. What was the one thing that Voldemort couldn't understand?
Love.
Who said that? What's love got to do with it? Explain yourself. I want to ask you guys a question. Do your mamas love you? Please say yes. Okay, I want to ask you something, okay? Is it possible that your mothers love you so much that at this moment now, they're getting up, wherever they're getting up in different parts of the world, they're actually thinking about you and not themselves? And at any given moment, when they say, what can I do to make the world, they're thinking about what they can do for you. I want to ask you something. Is this at the expense of their personality? How do you know? Because when they ask you to clean your room and you don't do it, boy, do they have personality, right? That's it. Okay, a Friday afternoon, they're preparing a meltdown before Shabbos. You see, they got plenty of personality. Personality is not mama's problem. It's just that she has this one thing that people don't get. She loves you. So when she says, what I need is really what you need. Now, it's actually a very deep thing. Because when you love someone, you actually invest your own essence into that person. Rav Dessler himself explained that. His definition of love. Isn't this cool that rabbis have definition of love? Love is the emotion that you feel towards the recipient of your giving. When you invest in someone, you give to someone, so you love them. That's the way it goes. You love the person that you give to. It's not the other way around. People think, because I love you, so therefore I'm going to take care of you. It's not the other way around. Because I took care of you, that's why I love you. Just beware, especially that other gender that may not be mentioned. They come up to you and they think they're from a 60s song. They say, hello, I love you, won't you tell me your name? They don't love you. They don't love you at all. They couldn't care less about you. They love what you do for them. They love themselves. They want someone to love you. It's only after a lifetime of giving. That's why marriage is so awesome. It just gets better and better. Because the more you give, the more you love. It just gets better. It's amazing. So then you have a person like Hannah. Hannah's whole life was give and give and give and more give and more give. All she knew how to do was to give. That's all she did was give the whole time. So that giving, she did not have any iota of lack of personality. Hannah, as far as I know, she could have been, the live wire of every party. She could have been like funny. We don't know what they were like. We can't project what they were like. They could have been storytellers and great people who are entertaining and that. But the point is that everything she did from the moment she woke up to the moment she went to sleep is that she directed it to the person who she loved, who is the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. She saw, like we do in the mornings, when she wake up in the morning and you realize that your eyes and your clothes, everything is from Hashem. And she says, well, okay, thank you, Hashem. Moda ani lefanecha. Now what can I do for you? and she comes along and she says the bracha the way she's everything for Hashem. So after a while, it becomes real. And if you love someone, so your personality remains in its full 100% capacity, but it naturally translates in the direction of the person you love. That's what Reb Chaim Volozhiner wanted from every single one of us. Reb Chaim Volozhiner wants every single one of us to daven for Hashem's needs. Now, I'm going to finish up with a story, because it's a great story, and it really sells my point that I made beforehand very beautifully. But I just wanted to say that next week, I'm going to have to go back over this, explain. Right, Yisrael Salanta, the founder of the Muslim movement, disagreed so strongly with Reb Chaim Volozhiner, and then where Reb Dessler disagreed on a practical level with Yisrael Salanta. So when I leave you today, don't think I'm telling you to daven this way. I'll give you a little hint in a moment why you can't daven this way. I'll just give a teaser for next week. It's a little teaser for next week. I want to ask you a simple question. If you had a relationship with a theoretical boy, it can happen. Let's say for the purpose of marriage. Now, there's two types of guys out there. Just think about the following thing. You offer two boys. And boy number one is perfect on every single level you can ever imagine that you're looking for. She scores 10. He's got steely blue eyes and petrol muscles everywhere. And he's a Ben Torah, you know what I mean? He's fresh out of your favorite Baal Tshuva yeshiva, fill in the blanks. And he's intelligent and independently wealthy, and he doesn't look at anyone else except for you. He's perfect. It's like that. He's right up there with Santa Claus and the, you know what I mean, and the Easter Bunny. He's like the perfect guy. And then you have another guy who's just like your regular yeshiva guy who's he's Lady D, and he forgets to come home for dinner, and he's whatever it is, and he loves you, but he's a great guy, but he's not so successful in everything he does. But he loves you 100%. But I forgot to mention one small little thing. The first guy who's perfect, inside of his heart, he can't stand you. But he'll never let you know. In other words, you will never ever know that this person could not care less about you. In his inner self, he hates you. Everything is external. So you could live in this paradise with this guy, but the real guy that you're living with, he hates you. So who would you rather have? The guy with the faults, who loves you to pieces but messes, no, he's not perfect, but he's real, or the one that's a total faker? So now you see a little bit where I'm going next week, is Rabbi Yisrael Salanta was very, very concerned about fake Jews having a relationship with Kadosh Baruch Hu. So we'll talk about that next week, but I want to finish off with the story. The story is a true story because I'm involved in this story. The story goes back to the beginning of my career as a teacher. I used to live in a place called Memphis, Tennessee. Anyhow, so I did an NCSY Shabbaton in a place called Crevcoeur, Missouri. It's right outside of St. Louis. Take the 55 north, Bladville, you cross the Missouri line, Arkansas. You know what I'm talking about? It's your backyard. Anyhow, so crazy story, ladies. Crazy story. A woman comes to me, and she has this 14-year-old son. Long, lanky, awkward. His face had this sort of, like the before picture on a Clearasil ad. It was like really geeky, this little thing over here. And she says to me, this is my son, Sammy. Could you please take him? This is his first Jewish experience. Not Orthodox, but Jewish experience. Come to the Shabbaton. Okay, I take this boy under my wings, and we became very close over the weekend, to the extent that I convinced Mom to let him go to the Block High School, which is the religious high school in St. Louis. And then he went on from there. He came to Israel to yeshiva. Eventually, he went to the yeshiva Rabbi Meiselman, called Torah Moshe. And, major flip out. He used to, I think it could be he stopped coming to my house because he didn't trust my kashrus. I don't really know. But it's a crazy, crazy thing. He became, he went from, from being zero to being Orthodox, to being ultra-Orthodox, to being like hyper-Orthodox, to being, beyond hyper, I can't even relate Orthodox. And this is the real thing. And I always told him, what made your mama bring you to that Shabbaton? What prompted her to do that on that awesome Friday morning? And with a twinkle in his eye, he always says, I will tell you at my Sheva Brachas. I will tell you the week after I get married. And interestingly, he actually got married to a student of mine that learned in one of the seminaries I teach in Dar Chibina. And it's the Sheva Brachas, and I'm waiting to hear the story. Are you ready for this, ladies? Crazy story. It's a crazy story. His mother was without children for many years. And she goes by chance, to a Reform temple. And this is like, she's going to like a second cousin's bar mitzvah, whatever it was, I don't remember the details. And she's going there, and she's never walked into a temple. Forget about, an Orthodox synagogue. And this rabbi gets up to give a speech, and he tells over the story of Chana. And as she's listening, she's saying, this is insane. I have to stop saying the word crazy so much. This is insane because this story is my story. My husband doesn't get me. My husband, she had a co-wife. There's no co-wife in Missouri, you know what I mean? They don't have maybe there's a co-wife in Arkansas, but not in Missouri. But the point is that she's like, this is Mrs. Me. And how does the story end? She takes little Shmuel Navi and gives him over to the high priest. And she says, if I have a son in the next year, I'm going to call him Sammy Shmuel, and I'm going to give him over to God. Well, I wanted to be a rabbi, and she actually wanted him to become a Reform rabbi. She didn't know anything else. Anyhow, but the point was, he says, that's what happened. That little boy was me. I was born a year later, and I was named after Shmuel Navi, and that's it. And she brought me to the Shabbaton. And that was it. This was her payback. When you were the high priest in the story, Rabbi Nissel. Okay, you were the one and she brought the challenge to take my child. That's why she was so amenable that I could go to an Orthodox school. Anyhow, just sharing this with you to show you the power of prayer and how we don't even know what we do with our tefillos. Now Hashem listens to our tefillos. And God willing, next week, we're going to explain Rabbi Yisrael Salanta, the idea of making your tefillos real and how to do that, to be in touch with your own essence. And then finally, next week, we're going to talk about what we're supposed to be doing in our lives. The third way, all of that next week, be there or be square. Thank you.